So in this short clip, I'm going to be calling Closing Thoughts. I'm going to be covering this watch in a little bit more detail and summarizing some of the details that I've covered throughout the series of videos. So, very nice box, well packaged. I've put a cleaning cloth over the front to keep it nice and polished when I want to polish it up. The watch is still performing extremely well. And I know there have been a lot of comments on this watch, and I promise to get back to you and reply to all the comments that I've seen. So, the number one thing that really turns people off from this watch is the name. The name is very goofy. I can admit that. It is not the most appealing name for a watch brand. I have no idea why someone would call it that and not something a little bit more sleek and streamlined. But anyway, so the watch is still performing, which is important. The movement is still great. I still haven't straightened out the dial, which seems to be a flaw in most of the watches that arrive. They all seem to be turning a little bit to the left. If you look at the dial, it's a little bit offset. I should actually invade the back and change that, which I might do in the future. But the watch is still performing flawlessly. The bracelet is unreal. Someone asked about the weight of this watch, and I would say it sits at around 150, 170 grams. Put it this way, it's not light. You really feel the weight on your wrist, and I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain that it probably weighs more than the real thing, because it has a little bit of extra steel. The case size is a little bit thicker than the real watch. The underside of the case is also thicker, so I would not be surprised if it does weigh more than the real watch itself. I noticed something very interesting. I mean, the level of detail that they've taken to make this watch as accurate to the original as possible. If you look in between the case and the bezel at the top, there's a black ring. That black ring, for the real watch at least, is a seal. It's an actual seal, and they wanted it, Gilles Genta and the team who designed this watch wanted it to be shown. You know, you want to show the seal around the outside to give it that little bit of extra flair. And even that is accurately reflected. I did undo one of these screws to experiment and see whether the screw is actually linked to the screw that's holding the bezel down, and it's not. This screw seems to be cosmetic. After a bit more investigation, I might be able to tell you something further, but at the moment, after taking one of these screws out, it's just a screw that secures the case back to the case itself. This screw is cosmetic into the bezel, as far as I know at the moment. But this is going to be a very fun watch to have in the future. I think it's going to be a project watch. I'm going to replace this mineral crystal with sapphire very soon, and fix the dial, maybe get rid of that name, which I'm not much of a fan of either, and just fix everything, straighten it out, make it a bit better. The watch movement is fast, and I was mistaken in calling it a Miyota because it is a seagull movement. I am not by any means an expert when it comes to movements, so don't take my word for it all the time. Thank you for correcting me, everyone who watched the last video. The movement is fast, very fast. I would say over the course of a week, and I did say this in my last video, over the course of a week or so, the movement will be 2 minutes fast at least, which is good. You want a watch to be fast as opposed to being slow. You want to be ahead. You want to be there ahead of time. In any case, the bracelet and the clasp and it's flawless. It is perfection. The actual steps, I didn't mention this, but the steps between the bracelet, you can't even feel that there are steps. It is that sleek that you don't even realize. And putting it on the wrist, let's see if I can get it fitting on the camera. It is very good. The size was a bit of a surprise in the beginning, for me at least, but over time I've found that the 41mm, it does fit very well. Ideally, I think they should be making a 39mm model, because 41 is a little bit big. It's a little bit too show-off-ish. I mean, the watch already, in certain lights, the watch attracts so much attention because of its reflectiveness that having it in 39mm configuration would be a little bit more subtle, but also still fulfill the requirements of having a fairly big watch. The crown, if I have to unscrew it for you. I've said this in a couple of my videos, I'm left-handed, so winding it this way is a little bit awkward for me, but I'll try. can't wind it that way. And what I tend to do is I tend to roll backwards before I wind, which does help. But the crown is excellent. It winds well. It does have a click when you put it back into its spot to be threaded back in, but there's no problem with the threading. I mean, when I compare it to the Alpha watch, which does have, it's synonymous with having bad threading, and if you're not careful, this is a lot more rock solid when it comes to threading it back in, which is cool. So the watch overall, extremely good value for money, that's what I can say. If you can find a quartz model without a ticking second hand, I would really suggest you get one, because quartz will outlast an automatic movement. I have no idea how long this will last, and I'm sure I'll keep you posted. I might do a 6-month review just to see if it's still working well. So far I have scratched it in a few places, so it even scratches like a real AP, which is quite funny. Let's see if I can show you. There's a few dents and dings on the underside of the bracelet. It is 316L steel, so it's expected. There's a scratch on the bracelet at the top there. I mean, it's barely noticeable. The nice thing is because it's so well brushed that you only notice it when you're looking at it in a specific light, which is cool. But as a guilty pleasure, this does tick all the boxes, and I will be having its stepbrother arrive very soon from another much more established brand, and I'll be sure to do a shootout between the two and show you build quality and finish and go into the design history about them and all that stuff. So that should be nice. But thank you for watching this episode. Again, I highly recommend this watch. It's excellent value for money. If anything, buy it for its build quality, because you will not be disappointed. I guarantee you that. And stick around, because I'll be doing a few more reviews very soon. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.